Have you ever seen a photo so haunting, so full of silence, that it feels like it could tell 1,000 stories? This is one of those images, an unflinching snapshot of a Japanese mother and child, dressed in traditional clothing, sitting amidst the rubble and charred remains of Hiroshima, just 4 months after the atomic bomb fell. December 1945. The world was still reeling from the war, but here, in this moment frozen in time, we see not just devastation but resilience, humanity, and an unspoken grief that words struggle to capture. Before we dive into the powerful story behind this image, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. If you're fascinated by untold histories and moments like this that shaped the world, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's step back into the ruins of Hiroshima, into a world forever changed. The mother, her kimono faintly stained by dust and ash, cradles her child, who looks barely old enough to understand the destruction surrounding them. Their expressions are subdued but not empty, there's a quiet dignity in their faces. They sit not in a house or a garden but on a patch of scorched earth littered with the skeletal remains of trees. Behind them, the rubble tells the story of a once thriving city that became ground zero for humanity's most destructive weapon. Hiroshima was a bustling city with a population of over 300,000 before that fateful morning of August 6, 1945. When the atomic bomb, ironically named Little Boy, was dropped, it unleashed a fireball hotter than the surface of the sun, obliterating everything within a 1-mile radius and causing fires to spread uncontrollably for miles beyond. It's estimated that nearly 140,000 people died by the end of the year, many of them instantly, others slowly, from radiation sickness and injuries. By December 1945, the city was unrecognizable. Charred tree stumps replaced bustling streets, and rubble stood where homes, schools, and shops once thrived. Survivors, hibakusha as they are called, lived in makeshift shelters or among the ruins, struggling to piece together a life. This mother and child were among them. Their survival was nothing short of a miracle, but survival came with its own set of horrors. Radiation exposure often left lasting scars, both physical and psychological. Many survivors carried the trauma of losing loved ones, along with the stigma and health issues caused by radiation. The scene of burnt trees in the background speaks volumes. Trees, symbols of life and growth, stood as blackened skeletons, stripped of leaves and bark by the atomic blast. The mother's kimono, traditional attire that connects her to a culture now grappling with unimaginable loss, seems out of place among the destruction, yet it also symbolizes endurance. Amidst the death and desolation, she sits with her child, perhaps the only remnant of hope she has left. And the child? The child, who might now be an elderly individual if they survived the years ahead, represents the future, a fragile and uncertain future in 1945. Many children suffered immensely, orphaned, injured, and often too young to comprehend the scale of what had happened. They carried the weight of rebuilding lives they barely remembered. This single image doesn't just capture a moment, it opens a window into one of the darkest chapters in human history. It forces us to confront the consequences of war, the fragility of life, and the resilience of the human spirit. But it also reminds us of the stakes, why we must never allow such destruction to happen again. Stay tuned as we explore more stories like this, moments frozen in time that define our history. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, there's so much more to uncover. And let us know in the comments, what do you think when you see this image?